Բարև ձեզ, ես Անին եմ Արաքելյան, Գյումրու թիվ 1 ավագ դպրոցի անգլերենի ուսուցչուհին։ Այսօրվա մեր դասի թեման է գրավորական սեռը անգլերենում։ Hello everyone, I am Ani Arakelian from High School number 1 in Gyumri. The topic for our today's lesson is passive voice in English. So now let's look at the slides that I have prepared for you. So as I said, passive voice. Okay, so we should remember that there are two voices in English, an active voice and a passive voice. In active voice, the sentence usually begins with the performer of the action, that means the subject. Then comes the verb. And then the object or the person the action is performed on. Let's look at the following example. For example, the lion ate the mouse. In this sentence, the lion performed the action, it ate the mouse. If we begin the sentence with the object or person the action is performed on, then we formulate a passive sentence. Let's look at the following example. The mouse was eaten by the lion. In this case, the mouse itself didn't perform any action. We should note that not all the verbs in English can take an object. Those which take an object are called transitive verbs. The ones that do not take are called intransitive verbs. For example, let's look at the following sentences. John slept well, or John lives far away. This type of sentence cannot be changed into passive because there isn't any object on which the action is performed. The students may ask the following question. Why do we use the passive voice, or why should we use the passive voice? The answer is as follows. We use the passive when we do not know who the subject is, or it is not important who the subject is, or when it is obvious from the context who the subject is. So let's look at the basic formula of the passive voice in English. It is to be plus verb 3, where to be is the changeable part of the sentence. That means it changes with every tense form, whereas verb 3 remains the same. So let's look carefully at the steps which are necessary in order to make a passive sentence. Let's look at the example. The professor teaches the students. Firstly, we have to identify the subject and the object of the sentence. Here in our case it is the professor is the subject and the student is the object. The next step is to shift the subject and the object. Then we have to check whether the object is in singular or plural form. In our case it is in the plural form. Next, we check the tense form of the original sentence. So when we check this, we find out that it is present simple. And bearing in mind the information of points 3 and 4, we open the formula to be plus verb 3, and if necessary, we can also indicate who did the action with the help of by plus either a noun or an objective pronoun. For example, me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. And the final picture that we have is as follows. The students are taught by the professor. So this is our passive sentence. Let's look in detail how the formula changes with tense forms. Present simple tense. Tom buys flowers every day. Some flowers are bought by Tom every day. The formula for the present simple tense is am is are plus verb 3. So here it goes, am is are plus verb 3. Past simple tense. Tom bought some flowers yesterday. The passive is Some flowers were bought by Tom yesterday. And the formula becomes like this, was were plus verb 3. For the present perfect tense, Tom has watered the flowers. We have the passive like this. The flowers have been watered by Tom. And the formula is have has plus been plus verb 3. The next tense is past perfect tense, like Tom had watered the flowers. It will be like this. The flowers had been watered by Tom. And the formula would be had plus been plus verb 3. For the future simple tense, we have the following picture. She will bring the photos tomorrow. The photos will be brought tomorrow. And the formula is will plus be plus verb 3. And the next tenses under discussion for today's lesson are as follows. Present continuous tense, past continuous tense, and modals. With present continuous tense, the picture is the following. We are discussing that book now. In the passive we have, that book is being discussed now. That means the formula is am is are plus being plus verb 3. Past continuous tense. They were watching a movie then. The passive would be a movie was being watched then. The formula would be was were plus being plus verb 3. Of course, there are some other cases with modals, but for today's lesson, we are going to look only at this example. For example, he can write the article tomorrow. The article can be written by him tomorrow. And the formula for modals, like for example, modals can be changeable, can, must, should, etc. It will be modal plus be plus verb 3. In this table, I have conjugated the same verb in active and passive forms in different tense forms. For example, I do it, present simple tense, it is done. I did it, past simple tense, it was done. I have done it, present perfect tense, it becomes it has been done. I had done it, past perfect, it becomes it had been done. Future simple, I will do it, it will be done. Present continuous, I am doing it, it is being done. Past continuous, I was doing it, it was being done. And modals, I can do it, it can be done. So this was done for you to have a better understanding of what I was speaking about. Then, in the following slide, we have the following sentences, and your task is to change the sentences from active voice into passive. In order to do this, I advise you to pause the video, complete the exercise, then go to the next slide. So how do you have to do this? For example, the choir really enjoys that piece. You have to identify the tense form. Enjoys. This is present simple. So you have to find the subject and the object of that sentence. The choir is the subject and that piece is the object of our sentence. And then following the steps that I have already explained, you can make the sentence passive. The second, a forest fire has destroyed the whole suburb. You have to be careful with the tenses. The wedding planner is making all the reservations. Susan will bake 24 cupcakes for the bake sale. Mom could read the novel in one day. Tom had painted the entire house. The two kings were signing the treaty. Thousands of tourists visit the Grand Canyon every year. So once again, I remind you that your task is to change the sentences from active voice into passive. And in order to do that, you can pause the video, write the sentences, and then go to the next part. So after you have done that, you can have the following picture. Everything is changed according to the tenses into the passive voice, like that piece is really enjoyed by the choir. The whole suburb has been destroyed by a forest fire. All the reservations, this is present continuous tense, are being made by the wedding planner. 2 dozen cookies will be baked by Susan for the bake sale. The novel, this is model, could be read by mom in one day. The entire house, this is past perfect tense, had been painted by Tom. The treaty, this is past continuous, was being signed by the 2 kings. In the final sentence where we have present simple tense, the Grand Canyon is visited by thousands of tourists every year. So this is all for today's lesson. Thank you for watching, and some more information about passive voice will be covered in our next video. Thank you very much. Stay healthy.